Have you ever stopped to wonder how a single day can hold the power to change everything you thought you knew about yourself and your future? Not just any day on a calendar, not just another sunrise or another routine, but a moment in time so precise, so divinely placed that it carries the weight of destiny itself. Most people move through life treating days as disposable, assuming that tomorrow will always be waiting, that change can always come later, but there are rare moments, sacred, undeniable turning points, that are never meant to be ignored. July 6, 2025 was not just a date, it was one of those moments, a line in the sand between what was and what could be. Think about it. How many times have you let days slip by without truly realizing the opportunity hidden within them? The human mind is wired to downplay the ordinary, to treat life like it is endless, but in doing so we blind ourselves to the extraordinary. Psychology tells us that the brain looks for patterns, and when it cannot find meaning, it convinces us there is none. But here's the truth. Meaning is not absent. It's simply ignored. Certain days are marked by something greater, a divine signature written into time itself, waiting for those who are awake enough to notice. When life reaches one of those turning points, it doesn't whisper. It speaks with undeniable force. The problem is not that these moments don't come. The problem is that most people are too distracted, too consumed by fear, too paralyzed by hesitation to see them for what they are. July 6 was a divine invitation, not an accident, not a coincidence, a moment where heaven collided with earth, where destiny demanded that you open your eyes and step into who you were meant to be. This is why you cannot treat your days casually. Every great transformation in history, every personal rebirth, began with a decision made in one moment, a moment just like this. Your entire life, every failure, every success, every delay, every dream, it has all been moving toward a point of decision. And when that point arrives, you either answer or you remain the same. You either awaken to the call of destiny, or you continue to live in cycles that break your spirit and drain your hope. Do not underestimate what a single day can do. Your entire identity can shift. Your perspective can be reborn. What once felt impossible can suddenly become inevitable. That is the power of divine timing. It comes like a spark, igniting something deep inside you that you cannot put out once it has been lit. And that spark was released on July 6, 2025. If you felt it, even faintly, it means you were called to it. It means something in you was ready to be awakened. Stay with me, because what we are about to uncover together will not just inspire you. It will open your eyes to why you have felt what you felt, why you've been pulled in the direction you've been pulled, and why this specific moment in time carries the weight of eternity on its shoulders. This is not just motivation. This is alignment with something greater than you, greater than me, greater than what we can even fully understand. By the time you reach the end of this message, you will no longer look at your days as ordinary. You will understand why this day mattered and why your future cannot remain the same. Every soul reaches a breaking point where comfort can no longer be mistaken for peace. There comes a time when the excuses you've carried collapse under the weight of truth, and you realize that staying the same is far more painful than stepping into the unknown. That day was not simply about a date on a calendar, it was about confrontation. A confrontation with yourself, a call to strip away the layers of delay, doubt, and denial that you've been hiding behind. July 6, 2025 was not placed in your path for you to glance at and move on. It was a demand for transformation, a divine signal that the time to wait has expired. For too long, the human mind convinces itself that tomorrow will carry the answers, that someday the perfect conditions will appear. Yet psychology makes it clear, waiting is the silent killer of destiny. Each time you delay action, you strengthen the neural pathways of hesitation. You train your brain to believe that uncertainty is safer than change. And slowly, without realizing it, you build a prison with invisible walls, a cage made of what-ifs and almosts. That prison may feel familiar, but it was never meant to be your home. When divine timing appears, it doesn't negotiate. It confronts you with urgency. It forces you to look at the weight you've been carrying and ask yourself, am I willing to keep living like this? And the truth is, you're not. Deep inside, you know you were meant for more. You know the version of yourself that wakes up every day hungry, alive, and unstoppable exists. And you've seen glimpses of that person. July 6 was a mirror, showing you who you are versus who you were created to be. That difference is not small, that difference is eternal. Fear will try to keep you anchored to the familiar. It will whisper that you are not ready, not capable, not worthy. But fear is nothing more than imagination turned against you. It thrives only when you feed it with hesitation. The moment you act, fear collapses under the weight of courage. This is why divine moments feel both terrifying and liberating. They demand that you take a step before you see the full staircase. They demand faith, not in what is visible, but in what is possible. What separates those who remain stuck from those who rise is not intelligence, not talent, not luck. It is the decision to honor the moment when it arrives. To see the sign and refuse to ignore it. To recognize that the turning point is not asking for your permission. It is demanding your response. That is the essence of transformation. Not waiting for the world to make sense, but declaring with your life that you are ready to step into alignment even when the world resists. The choice is always yours. The power has always been in your hands. But power unused is potential wasted, and the longer you stay in hesitation, the more you betray the part of you that is begging to be free. July 6, 2025 was the moment the doors swung open. The question is not whether the opportunity was real. The question is whether you are brave enough to walk through it. Because once you do, there is no going back to the smallness you once accepted as normal. This is your moment, your chance, your calling, and if you rise to it, everything you have been waiting for will finally rise to meet you. Every great shift begins in the unseen before it manifests in the visible. The turning point is not simply the change of an external circumstance, but the ignition of something within you that refuses to remain silent. It is the moment when your soul rises against the weight of mediocrity and demands more from life and more from yourself. That is why divine timing feels so unshakable. It awakens a force inside you that no amount of resistance can silence. July 6 was not meant to comfort you, it was meant to awaken you, because awakening is never gentle. It disrupts, it unsettles, it breaks apart everything that was false so that what is true can finally emerge. You must understand that transformation is not an accident, it is a conscious alignment with destiny. When you feel that pull inside, that undeniable pressure to break free, it is not your imagination. It is evidence that something greater is calling you forward. Psychology teaches us that the human brain is wired to resist change, to cling to what is predictable even if it is painful. But destiny is not interested in your comfort. Destiny is interested in your becoming. The signal was given so that you would finally step past the barriers your mind has built. The signal was not for the weak parts of you. It was for the strongest, most unshakable version of you waiting to emerge. The moment you honor that calling, you begin to rewire everything within yourself. Each choice to rise instead of retreat, to act instead of delay, to believe instead of fear, rewrites the script of your identity. You are no longer just someone who hopes. You are someone who embodies courage. You are no longer just someone who waits. You are someone who steps forward even in uncertainty. This is how breakthroughs happen. not through waiting for circumstances to change, but through demanding that your own spirit changes first. That is the gift of divine turning points. They do not simply shift your life, they shift you. And when you shift, everything around you is forced to respond. Opportunities that once seemed hidden begin to appear. Strength you thought was lost begins to resurface. Energy you believed was gone forever surges back into your veins. It is not magic. It is alignment. Life bends toward the courageous because courage awakens the deepest potential of the human soul. The reason July 6 mattered was not because the world suddenly altered. It was because you were given the chance to alter yourself. And once you rise into that alignment, the world has no choice but to respond. But here is the truth you cannot ignore. Turning points do not linger forever. They arrive as a door, open for a moment, waiting for you to step through. If you hesitate too long, the door closes not as punishment but as a consequence of your own delay. That is why divine timing carries urgency. It knows what is at stake. It knows that your hesitation can cost you a lifetime of possibility. That is why you cannot afford to wait another day, another hour, another moment. This is not about chance. This is not about luck. This is about choice, the choice to stand in the middle of fear and declare that you will no longer bow to it, the choice to see the turning point for what it is, a divine invitation, and to say yes with your whole being. Because when you do, your life does not just change, it transforms into something unrecognizable compared to what it once was. And that is the power waiting for you when you choose to answer the call. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not with the world outside, but with the voice inside that whispers you are not enough. That voice is the anchor of hesitation, the chain of fear, the shadow that keeps you small. It tells you to wait, to doubt, to settle, to delay. But every divine turning point is designed to silence that voice and awaken the one within you that says, "You were made for more." The moment you recognize that the power you seek is not out there but already within you, you stop living as a victim of circumstance and start living as a force of destiny. You must realize that fear is not the enemy, it is the compass. It points directly to the place where your breakthrough is hiding. Fear surrounds the doorway to growth because fear knows what awaits you on the other side: strength, clarity, freedom, and a life of meaning. The very thing you are afraid to do is often the very thing you must do, because it carries the seed of transformation. When you stop running from fear and start walking through it, you become unstoppable. Not because fear disappears, but because you learn to move even while it tries to hold you back. The human mind is built to protect you, but protection is not the same as purpose. Protection keeps you safe. Purpose pushes you into the unknown. Protection shields you from risk. Purpose demands you rise into greatness. And here lies the truth that separates those who live fully from those who merely exist. You cannot have both safety and destiny. You must choose. The divine moment was not placed in front of you so you could feel comfortable. It was placed there so you could feel alive. It was given so you could stop hiding in the illusion of security and step into the dangerous beauty of your calling. Every turning point in life requires a sacrifice, and that sacrifice is always the same: the death of the old self. The self that waits for approval, the self that fears rejection, the self that believes the lie of limitation. That version of you cannot cross into the new life waiting on the other side. You must be willing to let it go, to burn the bridges that tie you to who you were, and to walk boldly into the unknown carrying nothing but faith. That is where transformation happens, at the edge of surrender and the beginning of courage. Do not underestimate the weight of the moment in front of you. History is not shaped by those who wait for everything to be perfect. It is shaped by those who act when the odds are against them. The signal was given because your time is now, not when you feel ready, not when everything makes sense, not when the world finally believes in you now, because readiness is not a feeling, it is a decision. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to let fear dictate your choices. When you stand in this truth, you unlock a force inside you that no circumstance can overpower. Suddenly the opinions of others lose their grip, because you are no longer living for their approval. Suddenly failure no longer destroys you, because you see it as part of the path, not the end of it. Suddenly obstacles transform into teachers, guiding you toward resilience, wisdom, and strength. This is the power of alignment with destiny. Everything that once felt like resistance becomes fuel. And once you taste this truth, you will never go back to the small version of yourself again. The breakthrough you are searching for will never come from the outside. It is already locked inside you, waiting for the exact moment you decide to stop resisting and start rising. Every excuse, every delay, every hesitation is only a shield built by fear to keep you from claiming what has always been yours. And yet, the moment you step beyond that shield, you realize that the walls holding you back were never made of stone, but of fragile illusions you accepted as truth. The instant you decide to no longer bow to those illusions is the instant you begin to walk in power. Transformation is not a gift handed to you, it is the result of choosing to face what you have avoided. You cannot change by clinging to comfort. Growth demands that you let go of what is familiar, even when it feels safe. It demands that you release the life you have outgrown to claim the one you were born for. And though the world may not understand, though people may question or doubt, you must remember this: destiny does not wait for permission. It only waits for your decision. You were not created to live half alive, trapped in the cycle of almost and someday. You were created to burn with a fire that cannot be contained, to step boldly into spaces where fear tried to keep you silent, to rise so powerfully that even the darkness around you is forced to retreat. But that requires a choice to stop hiding behind reasons, to stop shrinking into doubt, and to finally believe that you are stronger than every obstacle that stands in your way. What you feed your mind determines the life you create. If you keep feeding yourself fear, you will build a life of hesitation. If you keep feeding yourself doubt, you will create a life of limitation. But if you choose to feed yourself courage, even in small doses, you will begin to build a life where nothing can stop you. Every thought is a seed, and every seed produces a harvest. You must ask yourself, what harvest are you planting for your future? Because every day, whether you realize it or not, you are shaping the life you will live tomorrow by the choices you make today. The world will try to convince you that your value is tied to achievements, recognition, or the approval of others. But the truth is far greater. Your worth was written before you ever took a breath, and no failure, no rejection, no setback has the power to erase it. When you finally embrace that unshakable truth, you become unbreakable. The storms may come, but they cannot uproot you. The challenges may rise, but they cannot defeat you, because you no longer live from the fragile foundation of external validation. You live from the eternal foundation of who you were created to be. This is why divine turning points matter. They are not random, they are invitations to step into alignment with a greater vision, to rise above the noise of fear and excuses, to finally live at the level your soul has always known was possible. And once you accept that invitation, everything shifts. The weight of your past begins to lose its grip. The chains of doubt begin to fall away. The hesitation that once paralyzed you is replaced with unstoppable momentum. That is the moment where you stop living as who the world told you to be and start living as who you were destined to become. Every moment you delay stepping into your true potential is a moment surrendered to fear, and fear is the thief that has robbed more destinies than failure ever could. Fear whispers lies that sound like truth. It tells you to wait until you are ready, to hold back until you are certain, to play small so you won't be judged. But fear has no real power except the power you give it. The instant you refuse to obey its voice, it crumbles. The instant you stop feeding it with your attention, it starves. And the instant you act with courage, even trembling courage, fear loses its grip forever. Your transformation will not be marked by perfection, but by persistence. You will stumble, you will question, you will face resistance, but none of that disqualifies you. What matters is that you keep moving forward. The ground beneath you becomes stronger the more steps you take upon it. The vision within you grows clearer the more you act on it, and the courage inside you expands every time you choose faith over fear. The smallest act of boldness carries more weight than 1,000 good intentions left unfulfilled. Too often people wait for external signs before they decide to rise, not realizing the greatest sign has already been given, the burning desire within them that refuses to die. That fire is proof that you were made for more. You would not feel its pull if greatness were not written into your design. The world may not see it yet, but the seed of it is already alive within you. And like every seed, it requires the soil of discipline, the water of consistency, and the light of belief to grow. If you withhold those, the seed lies dormant. But the moment you commit to nurturing it, nothing in this world can stop its growth. There will always be voices trying to convince you that you are not enough, that you are too late, too broken, too far behind. But those voices are echoes of limitation, not truth. The truth is that every setback prepared you, every delay refined you, every wound taught you a strength you could not have learned otherwise. What felt like detours were not detours at all. They were preparation. They were shaping you to carry the weight of the life you are destined to live. If you see only pain, you will miss the purpose hidden within it. But if you see preparation, you will understand that nothing was wasted. The moment you shift your perspective from defeat to destiny, everything changes. Suddenly, what once seemed unbearable becomes fuel for growth. What once felt like rejection becomes redirection. What once looked like the end becomes the very beginning of a new chapter. And when you start to see life this way, you no longer fear what comes against you, because you recognize that even opposition can serve as a catalyst for transformation. This is why you cannot afford to stay trapped in hesitation. Life is not waiting for you to feel ready. Life is calling you to rise now. Every heartbeat is a reminder that your time is limited, that every second you waste is a second you will never get back. And yet, every heartbeat is also a promise that as long as you are alive, you still have the power to choose.